Sean Salisbury is not a human being. Sean Salisbury is a cyborg sent from a planet somewhere unknown.
Should I change the lower third to say Sean Salisbury cyborg?
You should. And he basically lives to eat, drink, and sleep and watch and talk sports. And we're lucky to have him back. My dear friend, Sean Salisbury, good morning, brother.
Thank you, man. Good to talk to you. I will tell you this, is in 2020, you can actually call me a cyborg. Everything else is so crazy, I might as well be a cyborg. It's good to be on with you guys. And yes, I'm on Dan Dockett's show. Yes, I got to go on in Tampa Bay every Monday. Yes, I'm with you guys. But and on Monday through Friday now, I'm on in San Francisco from 6 to 7 o'clock. I host the football hour with Sean Salisbury on 95.7 The Game. That started last Thursday. I do that every Monday through Friday now, so I'll do that show. It's my show, and then I obviously do my own show, and every day I'm on somewhere else. But you know what? I know the alternative, so I don't like the alternative, so I'm okay with working. It's good to be on with you guys.
I feel like I'm qualified to talk about the alternative. Let me see. Generally around 11:30 Central, 9:30 a.m. my time, you're sitting in your truck where you slept the night before in some cases, can't find a good Wi-Fi reception at the hotel you're parked next to, trying to figure out both of our careers and where to go, and now listen to the resume that you just banged off. I know I say it every year, but it's just such an awesome story. I cannot wait for the Sean Salisbury True Life movie to come out.
Well, I don't know about a movie because I'm not that interesting, but there will be a book, and it will not be, it's not a tell, I don't do that tell. It's just about, at a time like this, Dave, when I see so many people struggle and let them know that, you know what, it's okay. When I hear Dak Prescott talk about depression and anxiety, that it's okay. And how you deal with it is really what matters. It's okay to hit rock bottom. Nobody wants to. But it's okay. We've got countless stories, and I'm just happen to be one of them that felt like I was in a penthouse and hit rock bottom, and the struggle to climb back up. And when people don't want to talk to you, or give you a job or give you a chance, and then somebody believes in you, and before you know it, they realize that, hey, one bad decision doesn't define you, your life, or your career, and that you don't lose talent or work ethic, and that sometimes you have a greater appreciation on a comeback a second time around. So, at some point in time, just to make sure that when people read it, they can say, wow, that these things can happen, and they happen to everyday people all the time. I'm no more special than the next guy. I just was able to be blessed with some resilience, some opportunity, great friends like you and opportunities, and realize I wasn't prepared to allow anybody to strip that from me full time, that I wasn't going to be that guy and be somebody's victim. And, here we are. So at some point in time, but yeah, I know that feeling, and I know that feeling of sleeping in my truck and looking for a place to wash my face because I had too much pride to ask for help.
Yep.
Yeah, I know the feeling of living in a big old house and thinking the world was the greatest that I was going to be doing Monday Night Football. So I know both, but I tell you what, I like this one better because I understand appreciation and compassion, common sense, respect, and that I, just like overcoming 2 knee surgeries to play football, I can overcome being punched in the face and fight back, and I will fight back. Trust me, and I have, and I'm fortunate to be doing this now, that somebody cares enough about me to have me on and wants to hear my sports opinion. So thanks, man.
Well,
good to be on.
It's a perfect segue into good people, or talented people at least, finding new opportunities. Tom Brady, Tampa Bay, weird to see him in a Tampa Bay jersey. And as a former NFL quarterback, Sean, and as somebody who teaches quarterbacks, you know Tom Brady very, very well. You're very familiar with him, how he plays, and his mannerisms. Was this, in your opinion, and I get it, one game, no preseason, way too early. Did you see any warning signs of he might have lost something, or do you chalk it up more to this is his first go around with a completely new experience?
I would chalk it up to the latter.
Yeah.
When all is said and done, I already took the over on 4,430 touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
For Brady. I took the over at the beginning of the season. Is he Tom Brady at 30? No, but he's not. Listen. Did you watch Drew Brees plays horizontal football? He's so accurate. I mean, he didn't set the world on fire. He just throws the ball on time to the right guy. And somebody's going to finally figure out that if you take away the horizontal stuff, that the next level for them is try to make Drew Brees beat you vertically on a continuous basis. I don't know if that can happen, but right now it doesn't have to. So, listen, and it is one game. I'm not knee-jerk about any of this. I'm not crowning the Kansas City Chiefs world champions, although it'd be pretty easy to. They're pretty good. And I don't think that Gardner Minshew is going to go 19-20 every week, although he's a solid player. And that's the hardest thing is the knee-jerk stuff that we're like, I read where somebody was already ready to say, oh, Brady's done, he should retire. Somebody on Twitter, I'm like, so just slow it, because what if he comes back? We've seen the movie before.
Yep.
He threw for 4,000 yards while babysitting a bunch of receivers last year. Listen, an average quarterback in that system with those players, an average quarterback will be good because they've got weapons. Now, Tom figuring it out, and listen, if I said who was the number one favored team in the NFC going in to this year's season, who would you have said? The New Orleans Saints.
Yep.
So it's not like you're 0-1 feeling horrible about yourself. Now, he'll be pissed, and he'll grind over the 2 picks, and he knows he's got to play better. But I'm not ready to bury them. I think they're still going to be in the playoffs. I still think they're going to challenge the Saints for the division title. And I think when they get to January, we've seen the history of this guy. He knows how to play in January. He has not had weapons all around offensively like this in a long time in New England. I'm talking about player for player at wide receiver, at tight end, at another tight end. The overall offensive people that he's got in Tampa, he hasn't seen that in damn near a decade in New England. So I think he's going to be fine.
Sean, let's flip to the other side of that coin and go up to New England. What'd you make of Cam Newton's debut as a Patriot?
I thought it was fantastic. I thought that the challenge going in was, could Cam adjust to, when North Turner gave him a little bit of that with McCaffrey on getting the ball out quickly and playing a little bit of sideways horizontal football and being accurate. And Cam's accuracy the one year when he was healthy with Norv, not the year he was hurt, went up. And Norv knows how to do that. He's always been able to do that. He did it with Troy. Troy was always accurate. And you're either accurate or you're not. But Cam made strides because he's normally about a 59%, 60% guy. He lives there, which nowadays in the NFL makes you average, which is crazy. It would have led the league 20 years ago or at least 25 years ago. You'd have been, oh, he's 60%, pretty accurate. Nowadays it's like, wow. But that's where he lived. And then for him to come to a team that's normally, Josh McDaniels has coached a pocket guy that doesn't move very well, but the ball comes out accurately always in Brady. The challenge was for both. Could Cam fit into some of the things Josh was doing? And Josh had the luxury of this year of almost, it's like rejuvenation, that now he's got a guy he's going to teach a whole new system to, that he's got to adjust his system, because the one thing Josh never had to do with Brady is worry about getting him on the edge in RPO or naked bootlegs. Tom would buy a time and gain. It'd take about 8 weeks or 2 seasons for Tom to rush for 75 yards. Cam did it yesterday. You saw him in the red zone. The threat he becomes, where you got to defend the entire width of the field, which with Brady it was in the passing game width of the field. With Cam's big physical guy who can beat you inside zone and out, but threw the ball efficiently yesterday. 15 and 19, didn't have to throw it much, and ran 15 times for 75 yards. It's a different-looking Patriots, but it's kind of scramble around, and I think it's going to be a where's Waldo, 1 week do this, 1 week the next, and this guy's involved and play some defense. They're supposed to be at a disadvantage with the guys opting out, and I thought Cam utilized the weapons well. I think if he stays healthy, he's getting a new contract. I don't know where, maybe in New England elsewhere, but if he gives them that kind of football where they're not just totally reliant on an arm and then mixing in 8 different guys in the passing game where he can throw, and then he gives you the threat, it's tough to defend. So while Buffalo's the best team in the division, Cam Newton, I think, proved a point that when healthy, he's still a top-flight quarterback in the league.
Sean Salisbury joining us. Sean, I know you watched Sunday Night Football last night. A couple things there. McCarthy doesn't kick the field goal, goes for it. They get stopped. Were you okay with that call? Also, the pass interference call, Ramsey and Michael Gallup, right call, wrong call?
The pass interference, we'll work backwards. So the pass interference was the right call. I went back and looked at it about 5 times this morning on Jalen. He extended his arm.
Yep.
And here's the problem with that. Even if he didn't make big-time contact, if you're an official, you're going to call it. Once you extend your arm, matter of fact, they're damn near obligated to call it. Had he not called it, people would have been enraged that he didn't call it. So had they been running shoulder to shoulder, and Michael Irvin used to be really good at it, and Chris Carter, they could push off. But a lot of the guys that are pushing off now, what are they pushing off with? It's like in the NBA when you got a guy chasing you around, you're a catch and shoot guy, and you got to separate from the guy. What do? You forearm him.
Yep.
You forearm him to get him off. People don't call that foul. Normally, it's the same thing in football. If you throw a forearm flipper to him in the rib cage, if they're that separation, they're not calling that play to create that separation, but you extended your arm. They got to call it. So people are up crazy about it. Well, you can't call that. I can call it when it's necessary. I don't care what time of game it is. I'd rather have you be consistent with calls than inconsistent. We've had a lot of inconsistency over the years. When you extend your arm and make contact, it's pass interference, period. So it was the right call. I don't know why you don't kick a field goal. Listen, I think Mike McCarthy's better. I love the fact that you show confidence in your team. Here's how we're playing football, aggressive. I trust it. But opening the season, an opportunity to put your team in position to kick a short field goal. I'm aggressive through the roof, but I'm all for kicking that field goal and teeing it up again. It's not like it was a 17-point lead. It's not like it was a 60-yard field goal, and it's not like it was 4th and an inch. I kicked the field goal.
Sean Salisbury joining us this morning. Sean, looking over at the San Francisco 49ers yesterday, it really looked like Jimmy Garoppolo was in his own head all game long. I mean, I know it's week 1. I get it. But should Niners fans be concerned about Jimmy G behind center this year?
I think that my thing going in, I discussed it on the show last week. I talked a lot about it. I'm a believer in Garoppolo. Now, when you look at his numbers, guys, 27-13 last year, touchdowns to interceptions, 102 quarterback rating. And do you really? I don't know if people know. Do you know they were the number 1 passing offense of explosive plays? That 13% of their pass plays up there, they were 20 yards or more. They led the league. I mean, and they were like 8th in the league in offensive football or passing game, and they played like the 10th toughest schedule. So people dog Garoppolo like he's a hack. I'm not saying you are, but he's not. Now, Jameis Winston doesn't get them in the Super Bowl last year, so Jimmy was a big part of it with the run game and with the defense they had. But there's another level. That's exactly right, the trust. And you saw yesterday with receivers injured that the one time, they got a couple times, but they didn't go vertical enough, and they got squeezed. And the Arizona Cardinals did a good job of tackling. After that little angle route that Mostert took to the house on man coverage, you thought, okay, they're going to settle in. But everything was pinched. Even though they averaged over 7 yards per attempt, they didn't make the home run play. And if they're not running it great throughout the game, and then at the end, you saw the double move go where Jimmy was late with the throw and underthrew it, or they have a touchdown. And then the last play on 4th down, he was late with the outcut. And I think that you make a good point. It's not the physical part that's going to get in the way of Jimmy. It's not. And Kyle's got to overcome this too. Kyle's been in a Super Bowl in Atlanta. We're 28-3 lead, and they had a chance. They had the Kansas City Chiefs dead to rights last year. If Jimmy doesn't go 3 of 11 in the 4th quarter, hell, if just 4 more completions, and they probably beat Kansas City in the game. So, but that doesn't do a hill of beans. You're the runner-up. So I think Jimmy, for me going in, it was how quickly do you get over that hangover? Some teams do. We see the Patriots get over it and are right back in the Super Bowl. Some teams don't. Carolina never did in Cam in Carolina. The Atlanta Falcons, they may put up numbers. They still haven't. Yeah. So the next thing is they're good enough to do it. Now, I'm not making an excuse for Jimmy. It'd been nice to have your weapons on the field. But you know what? Great quarterbacks elevate their 6s and make them 8s. And for some reason, they didn't do it. And I'm telling you, and I warned them on the show this week, Kyler Murray is going to be an MVP candidate in this league before long. I'm just telling you. They add Hopkins to it. They've got 3 really good receivers and 1 great one, and a Hall of Famer on that roster. They run it well. They got a play caller. And Kyler Murray will kill you if you miss him in the pocket. Jackson, Russ, he just kills you. And it was a danger game. I said on the show, I'd rather get them early than 6 weeks from now. If I'm Arizona, I'd rather get San Francisco then, because off season didn't get to hit as much. The COVID stuff, and now you're catching them before you catch them real and early. And they gave up 14 points again. A little fold in the 4th quarter, which is not what you want to get into the habit of doing. So the last 2 memories people have of the 49ers are Super Bowl, bad 4th quarter, opening game of the season, bad 4th quarter, and missed opportunities late. They only got themselves to blame, and Kyler Murray put on a clinic with DeAndre Hopkins.
Sean Salisbury with us as we move around the NFL. He had a 23-yard rushing touchdown. He was 8 of 11 on that final drive, setting up the Cincinnati Bengals for a field goal. Joe Burrow, the number 1 pick in the draft. Want to know your thoughts on him, and also if you're a kicker that shanks a 31-yard field goal on the number 1 pick's debut to send it to overtime, do you also grab your calf?
You probably you're probably a little bit irritated, but if you're Joe Burrow, the perfect thing to do for him in the situation is to run over to the kicker and put your arm around him, right?
Yep.
That's what I would expect. But I I'll be honest with you, I was really impressed with Burrow's debut. And I'm not even talking about the stats. Joe's been accurate. You can tell with his feet, and we saw that in the national title game and through the college playoff and during the season. Underrated feet. He can beat you on the edge with long runs, and you saw the touchdown run yesterday. And he'll get better at understanding protections and sacks, but for a debut, putting his team in an opportunity to at least, get them to play longer. And the leadership, I'll bet you he takes the people are more impressed after this than they were before by the way he'll handle it. But he gave his team a chance, put him in position to extend game and to put themselves in a position to possibly win it. But I thought he was poised. You'll never, ever have to worry about his swagger. You know it exists. You can just tell. And I think that the Cincinnati Bengals yesterday were validated even in a loss because number one pick, first pick quarterbacks don't win opening games. Usually there's a lot of burden and no off season. So when you couple it with that, I thought it was impressive. The Cincinnati Bengals got something to build on. Now, is it going to happen overnight here? No, but it always starts at that position. You got to have a chance at that position. Look at the good teams in the league right now. Kansas City, Tampa, New Orleans, Pittsburgh, Seattle, San Francisco, Arizona, the Houston Texans. They all have Green Bay Packers. They all have the same thing in common. When you at least line up, you have a chance to win the game every week, and then Joe Burrow is going to try to get that. Now, the rest of the personnel doesn't say so yet, but you have to build it, and all those teams there built it with that guy, and they got that guy. And this is one of those that guys, I think, on a team that desperately needs it, and he has great leadership and is obviously accurate that he'll keep them. They're going to beat somebody they're not supposed to beat this year, I assure you.
Last thing for you, your Vegas Raiders come back on the road. They take out Carolina. Jacobs, 3 touchdowns. And our guy, Derek Carr. We're a huge Derek Carr hive out here, despite what a lot of people say, Sean. He looked he looked just fine. What did you think of their first performance as the Vegas Raiders?
I liked it. I did. I liked it. Now, they're going to have to – the defense is going to have to ramp it up, as you guys know. I mean, even though Teddy's a good player, they're going to have to ramp it up. You can't give 30 points to a team that you're supporting. Now, Joe Brady is a really good play caller. We saw that last year in college, and I think Matt Rule's going to have them winning, but that team shouldn't be – even though it's in your building, I get all that. That team shouldn't be able to – the Raiders are going to have to play better defense. Let me put it that way. But I was – impressed with Carr because think about going this offseason. John Gruden falls in and out of love with quarterbacks, number one. Number two is they brought Mariota in who was injured and didn't get a chance to really do his thing, but that's been his MO since he's been there. So Carr knows that this is a monster season for him. It's a monster season not only for his team, but for his future. And when you're carrying that burden with a head coach that's fickle with quarterbacks, and listen, when John was doing Monday Night Football, he fell in love with 47 quarterbacks, and there's only 4 in the game, or 6, depending on if you carry 3 on your roster. So that's John. And I think he put a lot of pressure. He praised Mariota like crazy during, the summertime. And Derek Carr, at least for a game, when you go 22 or 30 and you're accurate, and we know that. The key for Derek, and I talked to somebody who knows him very well, who has coached him in the past, that the key for Derek Carr as the season rolls on, when you get hit early in a game, or when the weather turns inclement on the road, what kind of player are you going to be? I love Derek Carr. You know this, Dave. We've had this conversation, guys. I'm a Carr fan. But now is going to be faced the adversity of not only a job, you got big money, and now you're fighting for your Las Vegas future, but somebody will fall in love with him. But I'd like it to be the Raiders. The key here is, what are you going to do in nut-cutting time? And that's just the facts. And, there's questions, how he'll survive against a Chiefs team on the road in December. And if he can take that next step, then the Raiders still have their future on the roster. If not, if it goes to hell in the handbasket, the Raiders will draft a quarterback or get on some free agent market next year to try and find that guy. I hope it works out for Derek Carr because I'm a fan and it was a good start. They'll take the win, and he was impressive in the win. Even though he didn't throw for 5 touchdowns, he protected the football. When you do that, you got a chance to win every week.
4 to 8 a.m., Sports Talk 790 in Houston. That's a 4-hour show. Then he comes right on 5 minutes after he gets off our show, does his stint here. He's on several other shows today as well. By the way, the star of Benchwarmers. Let's put that out there. And you can find
snubbed in Best Supporting Actor in a Comedy Role. I'll always go with that. I don't want to thank the Academy because they snubbed me.
At Sean Unfiltered on Twitter, and he will join us every Monday at 8:05. Sean, love you, buddy. Thank you. Missed you, and good to have you back.
Great to be back with you guys. I love you too. Love that town. Love you guys. I'll do it again next week. Thank you.